pitcher, number 14, Roki Sasaki.
I remember seeing him in Miami, and I was like, who is this guy?
Strikes out swinging, 102.
His stuff was electric.
They call him monster for a reason, and he's been fantastic.
Certainly the talent is undeniable, one of the best young pitchers in the world.
StatCast doesn't know what to do with it. Sasaki has definitely made the adjustment. We're just going to give you all the splits.
I think he might be the best one coming over.
How about that? Welcome, everybody, to MLB Tonight. It's Carlos Pena and Matt Yaloff, and Roki Sasaki has found himself a team, and it's the LA Dodgers. So it was Dodgers or Jays, and LA wins, and we've been saying that a lot lately. LA wins, LA wins. They get another stud from Japan.
You know what? This is a move of epic proportions. I mean, really being able to land Sasaki just pretty much tells you a lot about the mentality of this ball club. It's great business because winning is great business. They went out there, won the World Series. They put a great team together. The offense is right where it needs to be. The rotation was already unbelievably superior. And now you add Sasaki to that one. They also understand the value of that Asian market. And you know that all eyes from that whole entire area of the world is going to be on the Dodgers. And that is absolutely huge. You know, hats off to Andrew Friedman, to Dodgers ownership of making and continuing to making things happen.
Well, we have a tweet, and I agree with what you just said. We have a tweet here, and this is a translation of a tweet that Sasaki put up on Instagram. I'm going to read it for you. It says, I've signed a minor contract with LA, a minor league contract. That's what has to be. It has to be called that. So he is correct. It was a very difficult decision, but I'll do my best to make it the right decision when I look back after my baseball career. I want to slip my sleeve on the Dodgers uniform at the opening conference, thanking everyone who has supported me this far. Pretty amazing, Sasaki. Here's another tweet. The Dodgers have traded Dylan Campbell to the Phillies in a trade that includes international bonus pool space. That's per source. And then Jeff Passan of ESPN. Kylie, with the news on the Dodgers getting international bonus pool space for Sasaki from the Phillies. And that is important, obviously, because you need to have that space in order to pay for the international player. John Morosi joins us right now. And John, well, it's finally done. We don't have to talk about what if, what if, what if. What do you know about Sasaki to L.A.?
Well, Matt and Carlos, good evening. We are just getting started talking about the career of Roki Sasaki because this is a landmark day among many landmark days for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I was told in the last 24 hours that a really key conversation in the midst of the courtship of Sasaki came between Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki. And we rightly focus on Shohei and the Dodgers, and we should. But let's not forget that Yamamoto broke the contract record for the largest contract by a pitcher only. And then he went on to help the Dodgers win the World Series in his rookie year. So what I was told, Matt, is that the ability for Yamamoto to articulate the way in which the Dodgers helped him feel so comfortable in year one was instrumental in Sasaki choosing the Dodgers. Because remember, Sasaki is coming off a year in which he threw only air quotes, 111 innings. So he's going to have to find a way to adjust to the major league schedule. And the Dodgers, by using a six-man rotation often, have already proven to Yamamoto and now Sasaki that they can help you adjust to the major leagues. And Matt, that successful adjustment, which by the way begins with a regular season series in Japan against the Cubs, this is part of what I'm told Sasaki's ambition is to be the greatest ever pitcher from Japan to come to Major League Baseball. And you don't get there in the end without a successful transition. And Sasaki believed that he could best have that transition year in a Dodger uniform. You see what he was able to do coming over early. And I mentioned this detail, and we all know, those of us who have covered this story closely, we're still working on the exact particulars of what the final number is on the signing bonus, but it's going to be less than $10 million, in that range, because of the rules of MLB when you're not yet 25 years of age. He came over early, Matt, because he wants to be the greatest ever. He wants to begin accruing his time and his service and the ability to advance to higher contracts through arbitration and then get to free agency. He wants to start that clock early because he wants to one day do what Ichiro Suzuki is expected to do next week, which is get inducted and elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow, that's a lot of information. You mentioned something along the way that I want to get into. You talked about a 6-man rotation. John, they could have an 11-man rotation. What are we looking at here? It's on our screen right now. And Snell's on top. It's not in any particular order. And don't forget that Kershaw is a free agent. I mean, what are they going to do here? What are they going to do with these guys?
That is an excellent question, Matt. I think that the idea for the Dodgers, first and foremost, is let's bring in all the talent we can and then figure out the exact order of all of this later. I will mention that, to be fair here, the Dodgers have also had some struggles in recent years about keeping their starting pitchers healthy. Of course, it didn't stop them from winning the World Series last year, although they needed a big-time assist from Jack Flaherty coming over at the deadline for that to happen. Now you see the way it looked at the beginning of last year, now into 2025, and the difference there. How many names are on the left but are not on the right? And I will mention this to you. By the way, Clayton Kershaw's name does not appear on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a belief that he will sign with the Dodgers this season as well. So add one more name, who, by the way, is on his way to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. You're right, Matt. It is an embarrassment of riches here, but it's important to mention, too, Glasnow's coming off of injury. Snell had something of a shortened year last year because he started late after the prolonged free agency. Maya's coming off of injury. Gonsolin's coming off of injury. The Dodgers themselves proved in 24 you very rarely have 10 healthy starting pitchers at any one given time. But if we were ever to find that experiment, Matt, the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers are that team.
And did you ever think in our lifetime we'd be using Clayton Kershaw's name with "by the way"?
By the way.
By the way, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, it's ridiculous. I want to know more about Sasaki. You're a world traveler, and I don't say that as a joke. You're everywhere. What's he like? Is he introvert, an extrovert? I think that people who watch the games, when you're dealing with a player who doesn't speak English, sometimes it gets lost. What are they like? What do you know?
I would say more introverted than Yamamoto. Yamamoto is known as being very extroverted, and Sasaki, based on what I'm told, is a bit more introverted. He, of course, went through a very difficult time early in his life when he lost very close family members in the tsunami and in the earthquake in Japan. So he went through a very, very difficult time, Matt, as a teenager. And in many ways, those who know him best would say that tragedy shaped him. And indeed, there are those who say that his decision to seize the day, if you will, and come over 2 years before he'd actually be able to make much more money, more of like what Yamamoto made on his entry contract, was by going through that personal tragedy, he came to realize at a very young age, nothing is promised in life. And so as he has that perspective of chasing his dreams. And so I do think, and again, the tragedy perhaps contributes a bit to his introverted personality in some ways. But I do think this, when you're surrounded by Ohtani, Yamamoto, you're surrounded by Betts and Freeman, and Clayton comes back in, he will be able to fit in and be a part of this amazing collection of stars. Whereas if he had gone somewhere else, he might have been the guy that all the marketing campaign was around. And now I think in this case, he is one of the guys, but he is not necessarily the guy when you've got a few players on this roster who you might say are truly one-of-one type players.
I think that's a very, very good point. So that brings me to this. We were told, and it's been reported, it was L.A. or Toronto as of a day or two ago. What are the Blue Jays going to do now? They're in a really tough spot.
They have been swinging and missing on a lot of major free agents, Matt, and this, of course, goes back to Ohtani a year ago. Here's their rotation. They will likely look for some additional rotation help. Of course, Yadiel Rodriguez is someone who they have a lot of high hopes for, but he also does not have an abundance of major league experience. Of course, when he left Cuba, he lost some time in terms of being able to build up his innings. You see the Manoah report at the bottom. He is going to be out for a while, so they will probably bring in one more starting pitcher of some capacity. They also just added Jeff Hoffman to the bullpen, but the biggest question there is, what will they do with Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? And, of course, Bo Bichette, both Vlad and Bo entering their final year of their contracts. There have been a lot of reports and indications that with Pete Alonso looking more and more like he is not going back to the Mets, are the Blue Jays the spot that he lands in after they have missed on so many other free agents? They've been linked to Santander. They've been linked to Bregman. At some point in time, Matt, Toronto will get a significant player, but I do think tonight this news is met with the most acute disappointment in Toronto, much more so than any of the other markets, because they felt oh so close on Ohtani. They were in there on Burns. They were in there on Soto. And now, again, runners up once more for Sasaki.
John Morosi, we thank you for all the information. As always, you have more in a segment that I can keep track of. We thank you. We thank you, John.
Thanks, thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, you bet. All right, so I mean,
yeah.
Give me the former player view of what the Dodgers have.
This is potentially the best rotation in the history of baseball. Period. Full stop. Now I'll tell you this. Yes, Morosi pointed it out. They have had struggles staying healthy. Right? You're like, oh, Carlos, don't jump the gun. I'm not jumping the gun. You look at the potential of this right here, this group of stars, it's just pretty clear. And I'll, you know, whoever tries to challenge that type of statement, it must be crazy. This is absolutely insane. Embarrassment of riches is an understatement. And now, six-man rotation, keeping everybody healthy is going to be one of the priorities, of course. It always is, but particularly this group because of Ohtani coming back from injury, right? You have to keep him healthy. Yamamoto getting acquainted with the big leagues here in the United States, and now Sasaki doing the same thing. But then the rest of the guys, and I say the rest of the guys are not just, you know, second-hand players. I mean, these guys are stars of their own. This is insane what the Dodgers have been able to accomplish.
The trickle-down here. The trickle-down, as you see the guys that the Dodgers either re-signed or signed, the trickle-down is a bullpen. And do you even need one? Or you take the starting pitching and you say, okay, you're in the pen, you're in the pen, you're in the pen. I mean, this is out of control.
And you could do that, right? You can move your pieces around and put some of those guys in the bullpen.
It's a half joke. They need the bullpen. But my point is, the options are endless.
Yes, and isn't that exactly what you try to accomplish? You gather as much talent as you possibly can so that you can move your pieces accordingly and strategize. The situation gets difficult when you don't have the weapons to compete. Right. They have an excess, you know, in their arsenal. So they're sitting pretty right now.
And then Dave Roberts is going to say, well, you know, guys, you never have enough pitching. Well, really? No, I think you do.
You're
good.
You
do, Dave.
You're good.
Well, I mean, Dave is awesome. Okay, we take a break here on MLB Tonight. Griffin Jax, he's got to be psyched to not be in the National League. He's going to join Carlos and I after a break. It is Friday morning from the Dream Series. And speaking of dreams, dreams come true for folks who root for L.A., the Dodgers. Roki Sasaki, according to Noah Camros, who writes for Dodgers Nation and Newsweek, Sasaki is signing with the Dodgers in a monumental free agent signing for the organization. He joins Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto as L.A. solidifies its Japanese team, or it solidifies itself as a Japanese team. Sarah Langs, you ready for this stat? She has all the stats. Her depth charts. Roki Sasaki projected for 190 Ks. Yamamoto, 167. Ohtani, 163. No MLB team has ever had 2 Japanese-born pitchers with 150 or more strikeouts in the same year, let alone 3. And that could be a reality. Welcome back to MLB Tonight. So, Sasaki to LA, that's the reporting. Go.
Yeah, this is a majestic signing. This is a great job by ownership. Andrew Friedman, willing and dealing right there to make this happen. You know what? Winning is great business, right? And adding this type of stuff, this type of arm, will definitely increase your likelihood of repeating. But do not forget the fact that now you're getting another star from Japan and having all of Asia watching every single one of your broadcasts is also very lucrative and good business. This is smart, whichever way you cut it.
Sasaki's only 23, 6'2", 187, perfect pitching body, right? 4 pro seasons in Japan. The numbers are off the charts, 11.5 Ks per 9. Now, his innings are going to be something that's talked about when they put together the rotation. He didn't throw 200 innings. He threw about 120, 130. So take a look at this rotation options. It just keeps going on and on and on. And Clayton Kershaw is a free agent. What is your take when you look at this? What do you think?
This looks on the surface like the best staff ever in the history of Major League Baseball. Now, I say that very bluntly and confidently. We understand they have to be healthy. They have to go out there and do what they're capable of doing. But potentially, if they go out there and do what they are capable of doing, this is the best I have ever seen.
But there will be decisions to make. You can't have an 11-man rotation. So that's going to be something that the Dodgers have to figure out.
Yes, you're going to have to go with a 6-man rotation, not just because of Roki Sasaki, but also because of Shohei Ohtani. He did not pitch last season. You have to be very, very smart with the way you handle it. But they do have the arsenal to be able to do so. So everyone's going to be on a longer rest. Everyone gets the same amount of cadence. And why not? I mean, you look at this type of arm, you need to give him the rest, especially because we see that he hasn't had that many innings before. I think they're going to go to a 6-man rotation.
Well, you know that saying that you never have enough pitching? The Dodgers believe in that. I think that that's true. I really do. Coming up.
ついにこの時がやってきた。ロッキー・佐々木がロサンゼルス・ドジャースのユニフォームを着ることになる。これは単なる不営契約の一つではなく、MLB の歴史に刻まれる瞬間だ。なぜなら、この契約は MLB の未来を大きく変える可能性を秘めているからだ。すでに世界最高レベルの投手陣を誇るドジャースが、さらに佐々木という才能を加えることで、史上最強のローテーションを完成させた。これ以上に夢のあるチームが存在するだろうか。今シーズンのドジャースのローテーションを見てみると、その豪華さに驚かされる。まず、大谷翔平。彼はもはや説明不要のスーパースターであり、投打において類を見ない才能を持つ。そして山本由伸。MLB 史上最高額の投手契約を勝ち取った男であり、日本球界で圧倒的な実績を残してきた。そして今回の目玉であるロッキー佐々木、日本プロ野球史上最速の 164kmh を記録し、完全試合を達成した圧倒的な才能を持つ若きエースだ。さらに、タイラー・グラスノー、ウォーカー・ビューラー、そしてもしクレイトン・カーショーが復帰すれば、MLB 史上最高のローテーションと押されるのも納得の布陣が完成する。ついに、この時がやってきた。佐々木朗までがロサンゼルス・ドジャースのユニフォームを着ることになる。これは単なる不営契約の一つではなく、MLB の歴史に刻まれる瞬間だ。なぜなら、この契約は MLB の未来を大きく変える可能性を秘めているからだ。すでに世界最高レベルの投手陣を誇るドジャースが、さらに佐々木という才能を加えることで、史上最強のローテーションを完成させた。これ以上に夢のあるチームが存在するだろうか。今シーズンのドジャースのローテーションを見てみると、その豪華さに驚かされる。まず、 大谷翔平。彼はもはや説明不要のスーパースターであり、投打において類を見ない才能を持つ。そして山本由伸。MLB 史上最高額の投手契約を勝ち取った男であり、日本球界で圧倒的な実績を残してきた。そして今回の目玉である佐々木朗希、日本プロ野球史上最速の 164km/h を記録し、完全試合を達成した圧倒的な才能を持つ若きエースだ。さらにタイラー・グラスノー、ウォーカー・ビューラー、そしてもしクレイトン・カーショーが復帰すれば MLB 史上最高のローテーションと押されるのも納得の布陣が完成する。佐々木の加入によってドジャースはもはや最強では足りない。これは無敵と呼ぶべきチームだ。どこを見てもエース級の投手が揃っており、他のチームが太刀打ちできるのかすら疑問に思えてしまう。かつて MLB の歴史に名を刻んだテーションの数々、例えば1990年代のアトランタ・ブレーブスのグレッグ・マダックス、トム・グラビン、ジョン・スモルツの3本柱や、2011年のフィリーズの4エースと呼ばれたロイ・ハラデイ、クリフリー、ポール・ハメルズ、ロイ・オズワルトといった豪華なローテーションを超える可能性すらあるのだ。この歴史的契約の背景には多くの要因が絡んでいる。まず、最大の影響を与えたのは山本由伸だ。佐々木が MLB に挑戦する決断を下す際、山本の存在は大きな安心材料になったと言われている。ドジャースがいかに日本人選手を手厚く編もうとしているか、環境が整っているかを山本が伝えたことで、佐々木にとってもこのチームが最適な選択肢となった。また大谷翔平の存在も決定的だった。日本野球界の象徴ともいえる大谷が同じチームにいることは佐々木にとって大きなメリットだった。プレッシャーを感じすぎることなく、スムーズに MLB に適応できる環境が整っていることは、佐々木の決断に大きな影響を与えたに違いない。さらに、ドジャースの6人ローテーションの採用も、佐々木にとって魅力的だった。メジャーリーグのシーズンは、日本と比べて試合数が多く、通常の5人ローテーションでは、投手の負担が非常に大きくなる。しかし、ドジャースはすでに6人ローテーションを採用しており、佐々木にとっても最適な環境が整っている。これは MLB1 年目の投手にとって特に重要なポイントであり、佐々木がスムーズに適応するための大きな助けとなるだろう。そして、経済的な要素も見逃せない。MLB のルール上、25歳未満の海外選手は大型契約を結ぶことができないため、佐々木が日本に残ってあと2年間プレーすれば、より高額な契約を得ることができた。しかし、それでも佐々木は今すぐ MLB に挑戦する道を選んだ。これは彼が単なる金銭的なメリットよりも、より早く MLB の舞台に立ち、実力を証明し、将来的な大型契約へとつなげることを重視したからに他ならない。この決断は、佐々木の野球に対する情熱と覚悟を感じさせる。ドジャースは、これまでも日本人選手を数多く獲得してきたが、ここまで日本のトップスターが揃ったことはなかった。大谷翔平、山本由伸、佐々木朗まで、日本野球界を代表する選手たちがドジャースのユニフォームを着るというのは、まさに歴史的な出来事だ。これは MLB の歴史の中でも類を見ない特別な瞬間であり、日本野球界にとっても革命的な意味を持つ。この影響は日本国内だけにとどまらない。韓国、台湾、中国といったアジア全体の野球ファンが今後ますますジャズの試合に注目することになるだろう。ドジャースは単なる MLB の強豪球団ではなく、 アジアの球団としての地位を確立しつつある球団のマーケティング戦略としても、これは極めて効果的な動きであり、今後、さらなる経済的な成功を収める可能性が高い。こうしてみると、ドジャースの未来は、これまでになく明るい。佐々木の加入によって、ドジャースのローテーションは、史上最強クラスとなり、MLB の歴史に名を刻むことになるのは間違いない。2025年シーズンが始まれば、日本のファンも、アメリカのファンも、そして世界中の野球ファンがドジャースの試合に注目することになる。この歴史的瞬間をリアルタイムで目撃し、彼らの活躍を一緒に応援しよう。ぜひチャンネル登録して、この歴史的シーズンを共に楽しもう。コメント欄では、佐々木が1年目に何勝するか、サイ・ヤング賞の可能性など、皆さんの予想や期待を聞かせてほしい。2025年、ドジャースと共に最高のシーズンを迎えよう。